Ẹ káàbọ̀ sí ètò ìjíròrò ohùn lórí ayélujára wa. This means welcome to our podcast in the Nigerian Yoruba language. On connecting to our cultures, we talk about how different cultures are preserved right here in Toronto. I'm your host, Omatayo, a Nigerian student studying journalism at the University of Toronto, Scarborough and Centennial College. I moved to Canada in 2023 and I can say that I've adjusted pretty well to the way of life here. Today, we'll be looking at the Nigerian culture. And with me today, I have Kolade Akoni, a Nigerian student at the University of Toronto, Scarborough. Hello, Kolade. When did you first come here and how did you connect to the Nigerian culture here in Toronto?
I came in 2020. I connected to my Nigerian culture by just firstly attending my church, joining clubs at my high school, watching Nigerian movies, just kind of like also having friends that are Nigerian, and we just kind of connected. We went out together, had fun together. So that was how I connected back then in 2020.
Yeah, that's nice. When you think about Nigerian culture in Toronto, what's the first thing that comes to your mind?
When I think about the Nigerian culture, I think about community. Because what is the Nigerian culture without the community? You know, it is just like, it goes beyond the food we eat, the clothes we wear. It's just about the bond that we share. It's even just kind of, like I said earlier, hanging out with my friends. It's just about being there together. It's just about the bond we share, this trust that we have with each other, like how we hype each other up, how we support each other.
Thank you. I think for me, it's the food. Because Toronto, it doesn't play when it comes to Nigerian food. There's so many spots in the city, like at Eglinton, at downtown, all over. And you really don't have to go far to find something that feels exactly like home. So if you had to introduce Nigerian food to someone who has never had it, what would you introduce them to?
I'm going to introduce the jollof rice. I'm sure many people, when I say jollof rice, are like, I've heard of jollof rice somewhere, right? Jollof rice is this bright red rice that is, made with like this special sauce, It has this magic. There's something about jollof rice. Jollof rice with like fried plantain with chicken. Yes. The aroma and everything just kind of like blows up the whole space. And also, jollof rice is something that merges communities. Either you're poor, either you're rich. Jollof rice is something that is eaten by almost everyone. When you go to parties, like Nigerian parties, like Nigerian parties are the best, right? Yeah. Because there's so much like things going on. When we eat the Nigerian jollof rice, it just kind of brings everyone together. When the music is going in the background, when you see couples at the altar, dancing and everything, and you're eating your jollof rice, it's basically just kind of makes the day. There is no Nigerian party without jollof rice. If there is something else, they're going to be like, why is there no jollof rice?
Exactly.
Like, even if there is like a bunch of different variety, if jollof rice is missing, there's always going to be questions, right?
Yeah. I can definitely speak to that because some non-Nigerians that I've met here, they've tried jollof rice and they always like it. And I consider it the star dish of Nigerian food, actually. And they usually call it the spicy rice. And I'm like, it's not even that spicy. Like, it's literally just rice. Yeah. I mean, because we have like different spice levels. So I guess that's why. But for me, I think I would recommend amala. Ewedu with gbegiri. So amala is yam flour, like that's like blended together. Ewedu is like a Nigerian soup made from jute leaves, and then there's Nigerian soup made from like grounded beans or something. I think that old dish just reminds me of one time I was eating dinner with my family, because we usually eat it a lot like back home, where it's like we all sit together at the dining table eating Nigerian, like eating that dish. So it reminds me of back home. And when I think about eating, so like just like you mentioned about Nigerian parties, I can't help but not think about music. Yeah. So how important is Nigerian music in your everyday life here?
Nigerian music is like everything, because I personally don't listen to like the mainstream Nigerian music. I listen to mostly like gospel music, just because of like the way I grew up and my background and everything. When most people listen to like Nigerian music, it stirs up the whole room. Like, I could remember people just kind of like speaking to the exact chorus, to the exact like rhythm, just kind of vibing to the exact like beats. And there's something about music. Most people, they know Nigerian as this culture that loves music, especially like this Afrobeats. Yeah. And in this current like 21st century, there's so much influence from Nigerian Afrobeat singers in the current musical industry. So I could see that there's a rise in this interchange of culture in this recent age. Parties, like I said earlier, there is no party without this Nigerian music. And it's not even about like, fun enough, when I even go to other like events that is non-Nigerian, they also play Nigerian music. So it's always like I'm connecting to my culture every single day. When I'm in the Uber, there's this kind of like Afrobeats playing. When I'm just like passing on the street, there's this Afrobeat playing. So there's this, it's like I'm living in Nigeria, but like, of course, like no place is like home, right?
Yeah.
But every single experience, every single day I live, basically, I get to experience Nigerian culture.
I would say that music as a way of shaping how people experience and stay connected to the culture.
Mhm.
I think just like you, for me, I listen mostly to gospel music, and even when we're in church, whenever we start singing like this language songs that you like have this fast beat to, you see everyone
Exactly.
excited, you see everyone jumping, and it's usually just like carries me back home. If a Canadian who has never experienced Nigerian culture was listening to this right now, what would you want them to do? Where would you send them? What food would you ask them to try?
It is very hard to like learn about a culture without trying. Just go to a Nigerian gathering, go to a Nigerian church. Okay, that's if you're a Christian, right? But like if you're not a Christian, go to a Nigerian party, have Nigerian friends, talk to someone. Maybe they could bring you some jollof rice. Honestly, it's just about stepping outside your comfort zone, doing something you've never done before. Maybe also watch a Nigerian movie. There's a lot of history being shared. So I'm just going to encourage you, step outside your comfort zone. Just make an endeavor to learn. Because by then, that's when you're also going to like appreciate the culture more and more.
We should definitely be curious about each other's cultures. So talk to that person today, learn about that culture today. And if you're interested in trying a Nigerian dish today, there are so many places that you can go. So there's Blessinglicious at Scarborough, there's Niger Jollof at Queen Street West, there is a Niger Eatery at Woodbine Mall, and there's so many places, honestly. You can just like do a Google search and you'll find the nearest Nigerian place next to you, and you won't regret it.
Honestly.
So thank you so much, Kolade, for being here today.
Thank you so much for having me.
Of course. And now we'll be talking to Blessing Alason, the owner of Blessinglicious restaurant in Scarborough, and we're talking about how she preserves Nigerian culture here in Toronto through the food that she makes. So when did you arrive in Canada, and what brought you to Canada specifically?
My name is Blessing. I am the owner of Blessinglicious Nigerian street food. I arrived in Canada in 2014, 2015, but the funny thing is I did not even arrive in Toronto. I arrived in Saskatchewan. I came in with background in film and media, and I also did love food because everybody loves food. Food is an art. It's beautiful and it's delicious. And then in 2020, I got to Toronto. Same thing with my media. I didn't know what the future is going to hold, but eventually my art of storytelling actually is now food. So yeah, and I'm happy and glad I get to feed you all.
And then you left Nigeria and you moved to one of the most food diverse cities in the world. Why did you choose to open a Nigerian restaurant in Toronto?
I did realize that Toronto is really diverse when it comes to food, when it comes to culture. Saskatchewan has its own diversity. In my sample test with Saskatchewan, Regina, I realized that there was a market there, and Nigerian food is one of the most. Or should I don't want to say. I would say. I'll call it. Nigerian food is the most flavorful cuisine in the world, and a lot of people are yet to discover it because you have to have a certain level of palate to get the memo. That's the word. And so when I came in here, I realized that I wouldn't say missing because I know people have been doing Nigerian food way before I moved down here. But what I noticed that I was going to open a cultural doorway, being very inclusive. I realized that not a lot of restaurants are halal. We are halal. We have vegetarian and vegan menus, gluten-free. Now, my goal was not just to feed people Nigerian food. My goal was to include everyone and almost everyone. When I mean everyone, when you come to us, there's always something on the menu for everyone. And if you come in and I don't have something, I would create something for you. That's how much I believe that we're all entitled to taste that flavor.
So tell me about the most memorable reaction you've had from a non-Nigerian trying your food for the first time.
At first, they tried to do the whole jollof wars. And they say, oh no, I lean on this, I lean on that. But at the end of the day, we're all one. And they taste it. The first person, non-Nigerian, he walks in that day and he saw we had 5-star on Google when we first of all opened. We had 5-star for straight 7 months. And I think he was passing by and he looked up. Then he, Google instantly. Then he walks right in and he's like, why'd you have 5-star? And I was like, oh, well. So now, of all the questions in the world, I did not think somebody would just come up to me and say, why'd you have 5-star? And so I, first of all, number one, I need to upsell this guy. I need to also educate him and not just think that we're buying these reviews, which we're not, because I don't have that money. Then I said, okay, how about we do this? You try the food. If you think it's worth the 5-star, when you get out, I wouldn't say you should do it here because it's going to be as if I'm putting you under pressure. When you get out, you give your review, your honest review. And so he says, okay. So I go in, I bring the food to him, the rice and everything, and pepper beef. Then he tries the rice. He's like, he stops. He looks at me. And I was just standing there because I know what I said. Okay, I know. And he's like, it's really good. And so that was, and I said, okay, now it makes sense. No, 5-star. No, it makes sense now. The fact that he's not Nigerian, and he challenged me because that's what I see it as. Because it just like me asking you, why are you blessing? Why do your parents name you blessing? No, it's good. Oh no! It's really I can't explain it. It's like no, you pretty much educated level. You can know what you taste. You can express yourself. And it's like yeah, like it smells burnt, but it's not burnt. I can taste that. He couldn't put words but I could tell that he loved it.
Yeah.
And he said it tastes. I can smell, but then it's not burnt because it's so flavorful. It's not that spicy. Like I can eat this for dinner. Now he starts to think of what he can combine this with from his own country. So it was epic.
What do you want Toronto to understand about the Nigerian culture that it might not fully appreciate at the moment?
The Nigerian culture is incredibly layered and sophisticated. But I would say we're not just a country. We're hundreds of languages, food, migration, there's history. Like there's so much. And I want to argue with anybody that Africa itself has one of the richest culinary vibe and experience. And so I would like Torontonians to understand that there is more to us than just Afrobeat. There's more to us than just jollof rice. There's more to us than egusi and fufu. Hey, TikTokers. Mm-hmm. We have so many stories, so many histories that you've not even touched the surface. And so don't just assume that because you've had 2 spoons of jollof or because, my roommate is Nigerian. And same to every other culture, to every other country. It's good for us to at least, educate ourselves to a certain level. And that's what I want Torontonians to know, that there's so much to us that meets the eyes.
Thank you so much for being with us here today.
I can't wait to go to Queen Street this weekend and try some authentic Nigerian food. Join us next episode for Italian heritage and life in Canada as a first and second generation immigrant. Let's move on to Italy. Let's move on to Italy.
Again, let's just say that part again.
Wait, that'll be cute. We can show that we messed up. Okay, wait. Let's just do it again.
Okay.
Okay.
We can just
3, 2, 1. Let's move on to Italy.